After 25 years coaching men and dads, I've had to accept something that I hate to say. Most men over 40 will never get lean, and it's not because they can't. Take a look at these two men. They're both 46. They've both got the same 24 hours in a day, and they're both busy fathers. One is lean and one is not. And the difference between them isn't time and it isn't age. It's one thing. And it's the one thing that almost nobody wants to hear. I've stayed lean my whole life while helping over 550 dads do the same. And if you haven't already guessed it, that's me on the right. And after all these years, the men who make it and the men who never do come down to the same handful of reasons. So in this video, I'm going to show you the 3 reasons that most men over 40 never lose their gut and stay lean, no matter how hard they try. The third reason is that one thing that I mentioned, the thing almost nobody wants to hear. So stay with me because it's the one thing that finally explains all those failed attempts. Then I'll show you exactly what the men who do make it do differently. And I promise you, it's simpler than you think. I'll also tell you about a dad named Richard who was stuck in this exact cycle for years. Then lost 18 kilos, which is 40 pounds, in 5 months once he finally made the one decision. Before we get into it, I've put my habit sustainability formula into a free book called Ditch the Dad Fat. It's the same step-by-step method I've used to help hundreds of dads get lean without the gym or dodgy diets. You can get access to it via the link in the description. Grab it. Now let's keep going. Now let me tell you how I think about this because it explains everything that follows. Think about how most guys handle a sore back. And I used to be a victim to this. They feel the niggle. They push through it because it'll come good on its own. She'll be right, as we say here in Australia. And sometimes it'll ease off for a bit, so they think it's handled. Then as time goes by, as they get older, it actually gets worse. It starts to affect them throughout the day. And then they might try a few things on their own to get it sorted. It could be like looking up some stretches online or some exercises, or trying some supplements to ease the pain, or taking anti-inflammatories, or worse yet, they just ignore it completely. They ignore the warning signs. Eventually, it gets to a stage where their back completely goes, and now they're just like immobile. They can't move, or they can barely move, and finally making the call that they could have and should have made much earlier. So the right help early would have fixed it when it was small. And all those home remedies didn't fail because he wasn't trying. They failed because they weren't going to fix the actual problem. Your weight works exactly the same way. The man on the left, he may not have been sitting on his hands. He probably tried a few diets that the man on the right ever has. So why is it that he's still stuck? And it comes down to those 3 reasons I mentioned earlier. First reason is that everything most men try was never built to last in the first place. Things like keto, the man shakes, counting calories, cutting out carbs, cutting out alcohol, whatever it is that you've tried, all of them are typically restrictive. And restriction can't survive the real life that a busy dad lives. The work trips, family dinners, kids' birthday parties. But there's a deeper problem underneath that. None of the methods ever touched what I call your default setting, which is the way that you eat and live day to day on autopilot, the habits that you do without thinking. So even when the diet works for a few weeks, the moment it ends, you slide back to the default setting that's put the weight on in the first place, and then the weight comes back with it. So if you've lost the same 10 kilos 2 or 3 times, hear me on this. Those attempts, they didn't fail because something's wrong with you. They actually failed because they weren't going to work in the first place for someone that's in your situation. And that difference really matters because of what all those failed attempts will quietly do to you next. So the second reason is that every failed attempt will actually take something from you. It takes a part of your belief. The first time a diet fails, you might be okay with it. You just think, oh, I didn't try hard enough, or you blame the diet. The second time, you start to wonder about yourself. Is this something that I'm going to be stuck with for the rest of my life? But you try again. 3rd or 4th time, you might come to a conclusion that, screw it, nothing works for me. My body's different. that's my age, that's my metabolism, that's my genetics, whatever it is that you might be thinking. So they end up quitting sooner each time they try until eventually they stop trying and they settle for that. Settling looks like laughing it off when you're puffing at the top of the stairs. It could be getting home at night with nothing left in the tank when the kids want to play. It looks like the shirt that pulls tight across the middle, so you pick a different one and then you move on with your day. None of it hurts enough on any one day to force a change. And all the while, the strain keeps quietly building on your heart, could be on your joints and on your energy levels too. Richard was exactly this man. He was a busy dad, a successful man. He'd been through the cycle more than once. He knew he needed to do something about his weight. He'd known for years, but every attempt, he had ended up the same way. So a part of him had stopped believing anything would stick. Nothing changed because what was really holding Richard back, it wasn't the diet at all. It was the third reason, the one I told you that nobody wants to hear. And that is, most men will never get lean because their ego won't let them get the right help. So they never break the cycle. Think about the logic of it. If what you've tried on your own hasn't worked, it was never going to. Every failure has cost you belief. So the cycle only breaks when two things change at once. Firstly, you need the right solution, one that actually is built for your life in your current situation. And then secondly, you need someone in your corner keeping you consistent and holding you accountable so that this time you don't quit at week 2 or 3 or when life gets busy, work gets chaotic and things happen with the family. Deep down, most men know this, but asking for help feels like admitting defeat. And after all those years of trying alone, that pride can dig even deeper. So they stay stuck quietly for years and they could be thinking in their heads, I don't want to show that I'm asking for help. I don't want to show my kids and my wife that I actually need to get some help from someone else because I can't do it on my own. But there's a proverb that says, in verse 11 and 14 in Proverbs, it says that without guidance, people fall. But in an abundance of counselors, there is safety, which means the wise man isn't the one who does it all alone. The wise man is the one humble enough to get the right guidance before things fall apart. Getting help is not weakness. It's actually wisdom. For example, with my business, I have a mentor that helps me through every area of that. And I wouldn't be where I am if it wasn't for that mentor. And I could have kept trying on my own and I wouldn't be where I'm at the moment. So if you want to get to where you want to faster in life, i.e. your weight, your health, then it's the smartest, strongest thing that a man can actually do. This is exactly where Richard was stuck. He was skeptical, was very skeptical. And it took him a lot of toing and froing before he decided to come to me to get help, because a part of him felt that he should be able to do it himself. But he'd already proven over years that doing it alone was not working. So what happened when he finally dropped the pride? That's the part that most videos never show you. And it's coming right now. The men who make it aren't stronger or more disciplined than you. They do 3 things differently, and every one of them is available to you today. First, they stop trying to out-diet the problem and they reset their default setting instead. Let me make that concrete because it's simpler than it sounds. For one dad, it could be one of the habits that's keeping the weight on. It might be things like skipping breakfast, so he ends up being ravenous before dinner and starts to overeat at nighttime. For another, it could be that he's eating until he's stuffed, till he's overly full instead of stopping when he's satisfied. Around 80% is what we recommend. And then that's what's causing him to gain weight. For others, it might be over drinking with alcohol and soft drinks, and that all adds up. For others, it might be not managing their weekends better. You're already doing these things. If you can fix those things step by step, rather than fighting against it and trying something completely different that might be extreme or a rigid meal plan or forcing yourself to go to the gym or take weight loss drugs, then perhaps that's all you need to do. You may already know which habits you need to work on. Secondly, because the change fits their life, consistency stops being a battle. So you don't need extreme discipline to keep doing something that doesn't actually hurt. And thirdly, they don't do it alone. They have someone that's watching over them, someone that they can check in with, that's monitoring their progress, adjusting the plan along the way, holding them to it on the weeks that they'd normally drift, including weekends. And that accountability is the difference between another 3-week attempt and permanent change. And that's what changed everything for Richard. Once he finally raised his hand and let us guide him, he didn't have to turn his life upside down. He still lives it, he still does everything he was doing before. He just changed his default setting one habit at a time with someone in his corner, keeping him consistent. And 5 months later, he's lost 18 kilos, which is 40 pounds, and continuing to drop as we speak. And this is after years of being stuck. And it turned around in months, a matter of months. The moment he made that one decision to drop his ego and to stop doing it alone. So let me talk to the man who's watching this, who knows that deep down, he's closer to the man that was on the left than on the right. And he's been running the cycle for years. God has designed our bodies to speak to us in pain signals. And if we don't respond, it's going to eventually fail. You don't have to wait until your health forces your hand. You don't have to be flat on your back before you make the call. That's the part that I do with the dads that I work with. It's on a breakthrough call where I'll personally help you find the exact habits that are keeping the weight on you and map out a clear plan to change them for good. It's for the dad that's carrying more than 20 pounds, who's serious about changing and is finally ready to stop doing this on his own and wants something that's a much faster process than what they've been trying for so many years. Not to say it's a fad or a rapid weight loss solution, but by having that guidance and accountability, we find the hundreds of dads that we've helped get there a lot sooner in a matter of months rather than years. So if that's you, you can access my calendar via the link in the description below and book a breakthrough call with me this week. And if you want to see some real life examples of real dads who made this change, men who are exactly where you are and the exact steps that they took, go and watch the video right here. And remember, look after yourself so you can look after your family.